So I'm obviously very excited to be here. Thank you all for coming. I don't really have any slides, so we'll just say what I have to say, and then we'll have a little bit of a guest Q&A with what time we have left. So for the last year, it has been my privilege to get to support the Balancer community. I've been able to watch it grow and evolve, and the passion for this project, for this space, and actually the passion that our team and our community has for each other is what's been the most incredible. My role is as the COO, and so while I support our organization in helping them manage day to day, my passion is actually in supporting our community and making sure that they have the structure to be the most efficient and effective that they want every day. All right, we're going to test if you can hear me out there. How many of you are part of a DAO? And by DAO, I mean like you're in a Discord, voted on a forum, you voted on a governance proposal, you're on a forum. All right, good. And how many of you have been part of a traditional organization? Those things with like hierarchies and incorporations and stuff. Awesome, all right. Often when people talk about this, when they talk about centralization and decentralization, when they talk about being part of a hierarchical organization or a decentralized community, when they think about structuring a community, they set it up as this polarity, right? And they say, how do we either be decentralized or centralized? How can we be one or the other? And really what we should be talking about is how we can be both and. And this is something I've been thinking about for the last 8 months. The trade-offs between centralization and decentralization and how to build an ecosystem that can facilitate both. If you've read Jesse Walden's post that's titled Progressive Decentralization, it showed us that this is a spectrum. On one end is centralization, and on the other is decentralization. We know centralization offers efficiency, and that decentralization offers anti-fragility. But I don't really want progressive decentralization, right? I want to have both centralization and decentralization. I want to have both efficiency and anti-fragility. And the reason I want that is because it's the maximum way we can serve our communities. It's not, and I was just talking about this backstage, it's actually not really safe to be in a space that has no rules and no structure. It's fun, but if you have this space where you don't know what the rule set is and you don't know how to engage, it's actually pretty terrifying. And I think a lot of the women on our team and a lot of women I hear, they're like, I want to join a DAO, but I don't understand how to get involved. Yeah, because there's no structure and there's no rules and there's no safety. So we want to be able to combine the centuries of experience we have in centralization with the anti-fragility of decentralization. If we were to only optimize for efficiency, we would create hierarchy and central authority, which is of course subject to a single point of failure, to corruption, and to incentivized abuse of the community. And listen, we're all in this industry. I don't need to convince you that decentralization is important. But if we only optimize for anti-fragility, if we only optimize for decentralization, we'd also underserve our community. We suffer because there's a lack of general efficiency, allocation of resources, timely decision-making. Those are all compromised. Any of you experienced that? Challenged to make decisions in DAOs, in decentralized organizations? Yeah. So if the premise that it's necessary to optimize for both efficiency and anti-fragility is true, we have to ask how we can actually accomplish that. How can we bridge centralization and decentralization? How can we bring together the meat space, our physical world, the one that we all live in every day, and the metaverse, which is our incredibly creative digital world? And what the Balancer community is doing that I am incredibly excited about is that they're beginning to form ecological collectives, which are these interconnective group of non-affiliated centralized entities that support a broader decentralized system. All right, let's say that again. It's an interconnective group of non-affiliated centralized entities that support a broader decentralized system. So we can have both and. And the Ecological Collectives made up of 4 groups: a participating community, a foundation, service providers, and protocol developers. The participating community is the ultimate decision maker. It essentially constitutes the community that is to be served. Generally, we all call this a DAO, right? Our participating community. They're up at the top. And then under that, you've got the foundation, and the foundation generally acts as the agent of the DAO. It's at the DAO's direction. It facilitates the DAO's connection to existing centralized structures. And many teams have this, right? It lets them sign contracts. It lets them interact with any other centralized entities. And then we get into the cool parts, service providers. And these are groups of people who organize into central entities that are capable of efficiently executing tasks that support the protocol. So at the direction of the DAO, which directs the foundation can engage service providers of all types to apply their expertise for the project. Usually entails supporting operational efficiency of the protocol. In the future, it can be a lot of other things like growing the community or providing new product market fit on top, or even combining different communities together. And then the fourth group in this ecological collective is the protocol developers. Some of the most critical people. They're open source software developers that are interested in furthering the development of the protocol. And this group is generally best served by not being distracted with anything else. And they don't really enjoy being too distracted by other things, as we all know some software engineers. So in this ecological collective, what happens is that the service providers become centralized entities that can move quickly and execute, but they have no decision-making power. It's pretty critical. The community is the one that makes the decisions. And should any of these Meatspace entities, these ones that exist in our physical world, should they become a bad actor, the community can choose to remove them, or replace them, or change them. And then we get this important competitive environment where the best things flourish. Ultimately, there's no central point. It's the community that's comprised of tens of thousands of people coordinating on the internet all over the world. They are the decider. The entities are at the direction of the community, and they get the chance to efficiently execute. And what it creates is this epic self-sustaining ecological collection. What a good word, ecological collection. And the DAO can direct the foundation to hire as many service providers as it needs, which lets us actually recruit a lot more people into this space. Because we say, hey, here's a group of people. They provide a certain service and a function. They get this opportunity to work for a foundation. And now the service providers can support multiple communities with their specific expertise, and they're going to do it inside a structure that they understand. It's just one way that ecological collectives can form, but what's fascinating, at least for me to see, is that these collectives are actually forming. We've talked about DAOs for years, and we didn't know what that meant or what that was going to become, and I have been waiting for this moment for 8 years. Maybe like 3 years since we started talking about DAOs, but since I've been in the industry, I've been waiting to figure out how we can build a structure that gives people safety and security and continues to offer the anti-fragility that we're all here for. So as we continue to see growth in our industry and innovate, not only in the technology side, but also with these systems that we use for organizing humans and communities, my expectation and hope is that Balancer's exploration and all the things that the incredible team sitting over on the right and up in the middle is working on, that this will be the first of many iterations in our pursuit of harmonizing decentralization and centralization. Thank you. Tyler, how much time we got? How much time we got left? 5 minutes? You just made that up. I'm just kidding. Do you have a mic? Can we get one? Oh, thanks, Maggie. So in the last couple minutes, although I didn't think that would take so long, so.
Hello.
This is Joshua.
Hi, everyone. I'm Joshua Rivera. I'm the general counsel at Blockchain Capital. We invested in the Balancer ecosystem. Kristen and I have spent many hours on Zoom trying to talk about this concept of ecological collective. And so, yeah, before each of you ask me afterwards, yes, we coordinate our outfits. We Telegram messaged last night. It happened. We wanted to look cool on stage, so no questions on that, please. But what I really want people to understand kind of the like how big of a moment this is, because so I'm a lawyer, and I apologize ahead of time for that. Like, if you guys just want to tune me out, it's fine. I totally get it. Happens most of the time during my day. But from a legal perspective, there are rules and requirements for entities that create structure around organizations. And that's what has made DAOs so difficult, right? Because in commerce, we want to encourage corporate systems, right? And so we've created rules for that, right? We've created C Corps and LLCs. All right, these rules allow people to take risks, right, without putting certain personal things at risk, right? They allow people to experiment, right? But we don't have that type of structure for what we're building in the metaverse, right? For what we're doing in DAOs. And so this whole effort is really, how do we kind of leverage, as Kristen said, centuries of figuring out how to organize formally, right? How do we leverage that knowledge and utilize it in order to make our metaverses, our DAOs, better? And so I'm really excited to see how this kind of continues to grow. One thing that I'd love to hear is, you talk about serving the community, right? We need both decentralization and centralization. How have you seen that play out with the Balancer community? Like, how have the core devs been served? How has the community been served, right? How has that balance of things, no pun intended, sorry, but how has that actually allowed you to see greater efficiency, but also greater protections for people participating?
Ooh, interesting. I feel like that's not one of the questions you said you were going to.
That's not. No, it's a curveball. Yeah.
Sweet.
But I trust you.
I know. So first, I'll comment on one of the things you said, and we all wake up every day in the real world, and there are real rules that exist in our real world that we have to follow. And there's important protections and liability protections that exist inside centralized entities that allow for risk-taking. Centralization has so many pieces. It's not just efficiency, but it also is efficiency from the sake of rules and being able to wake up in the physical world every day. So to your question, how has everyone been served? And then this is actually our last question. We don't have a lot of time.
Oh, man.
But you can come see us. Sometimes we sit around and talk about stuff like this. You want to just gather somewhere?
We talk about this stuff all the time, too much, so no.
What I'm reminded of is that one of our community members in our last community call, with some of the more engaged community members, sits back and he goes, our DAO just really got started. It's been flourishing and booming, and we have a ton of our engaged community members who came here to participate. It's incredible. And in the last call, he sits back and he's like, working in a DAO has really made me bearish on this. Because it's true, it's hard. And so the way that people are becoming served by this is that they're seeing the structure and they're understanding their role in the broader structure, right? So the protocol developers are served because their role is not to get inside the community and to make decisions and to vote, and they do and can participate in all those things, but they have a very specific role that provides a very specific value, so they don't have to be in all these thousands of channels that exist everywhere, right? And some people's role, that is what they do because it is what they love. So I think individually every person is served in growing, and then every group is served by being able to focus in a world that is full of noise on what they can do to provide the most value.
That's a great answer.
Thanks.
Good job.
And then we'll leave it there. Is there anything else you want to say?
No, great to see everyone. Great work to you and the Balancer team. Very excited about what you guys are building.
If you see us anywhere, just come hang out.